for everyone to feel safe. Am I live? Close. Okay. Wow, look, it's crazy. It's such a beautiful sunny day and it's super bright. Well, look at this hair. Holy cow. And I behave again. Oh well. Let's see here. It is Aloha Friday, but it's St. Patrick's Day. Anyway, hello, Crime Stoppers. Um, not stopping much crime. The police are getting away with murder. Um, so much to talk about that I can actually talk about. Silver, get some silver. Back in September, I think it was, I said get some silver. Yeah, I'm still out there, still surviving. Look, I can read the subtitles. Um, anyhow, God, this hair is crazy. It's about to get shaved off. I'm just gonna. You don't want to hear about my hair. I mean, this is nuts. Now that I can see myself, the place I'm at, there aren't a whole lot of mirrors, so I didn't realize how scruffy I looked. No wonder they laugh at me when I'm in public. Anyhow, lots of stuff going around on the internets now. I see about St. Patrick and the fact that the first slaves in the place called United States of America were Irish, not black. And then if you do the mathematics, when it comes to slave ships, 31,000 slave ships that we know about, there's just no way that everybody that was supposed to be a slave and dark-skinned on the North American continent and the Caribbean and Brazil and so forth were all brought out over from Africa by slave ships. They were already here. Look at the Olmecs. Look at the fact that finally now there's a great Terry Carter. Go check out his channel. He's got great stuff. But the idea is that there were Egyptians clearly there were Egyptians in the Grand Canyon. And clearly, many of the places that you thought were named by people like Memphis and Cairo, and no, these were places that were there before these we'll call them colonizers showed up. Also, go take a look at the Jesuit oath. Just go take a look at the oath that the Jesuits swear. Go look at that thing. All Jesuits swear that oath. Look it up, the Jesuit oath. It's online. This is not hard to find. They swear this oath. They talk about, they're not fooling around. Masons, maybe not your friend, but definitely keepers of an ancient flame. So I'm going to tell you it's 100th monkey story time. So, back in the 1800s, there was trade between the King of Siam, who, by the way, is now very annoyed with certain companies due to the fact that his daughter is, from last I heard, still in a coma, due to the fact that you know why. Anyway, the Chinese were trading with England and the other colonizers that were running around and say, we'll go like the 1840s, 1850s. But the Chinese didn't really want anything from the English. They didn't really have anything to trade. So what did the Chinese take? They took silver. And because the colonies in the Americas and also British and in India, all their peasants that were out trading with China, they wanted silks and they wanted spices and they wanted teas and they wanted porcelain and they wanted all kinds of stuff. But they kind of sort of, Graham Hancock is a gatekeeper, or he just got it wrong like everybody else. But yeah, the old world is not the old world. What they called the new world was the old world, and all your history is nonsense. I mean, just complete bullshit. The more you study, the more you'll find that, like I was trying to tell you, the Phoenicians, I got in trouble saying a little bit about what history and who is in Geneva and so on. But doesn't matter. In for a penny, in for a pound. I'm happy with what's going on, and eventually we're going to get rid of these guys. But all right, let's keep going back to 100th Monkey Story time. So the Chinese are basically draining silver out of because the common man, the gentleman, uh, gold, the money of kings; silver, the money of gentlemen; barter, the money of peasants; debt, the money of slaves. Our money is debt. Anyhow, the gentlemen and the people that were trading, and also because the Chinese didn't really want anything else but silver, had to give silver to the Chinese for all these goods. All right, so this drains the coffers of the silver that England has. So, being, what's the word I want? Being the way they want to get their silver back. So they couldn't, but there was nothing that the Chinese wanted. So what did they do? They used force to open up the ports and sold them opium. Mostly it was the English, but the Delano family, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, also had a bit to do with it. And I'm not part of that. They sold them opium for silver, and they wouldn't take anything but silver for opium. And see, the emperor was smart enough to know we don't want opium, but they forced it on them. So then there were opium dens, and I don't know if you know that whole story, but the idea that lots and lots of opium was forced on China, and it caused about 120 years of havoc in that country. And again, they opened those ports by force. I've been to the museums in Hong Kong, and they haven't forgotten. They're not pleased about it. So what are they doing? Well, tit for tat. Now there's stuff called fentanyl, and the Mexicans are on it because are the Mexicans happy with all that land that they lost? That's now called California and Arizona and New Mexico and Colorado and all the way up to almost the Canadian border. No, they're not happy about that. So they're in cahoots with the Chinese selling fentanyl. Okay, believe it or not, this all has to do with the banking crisis that's going on right now. And if you think that they're going to paper this thing over this time, we are now at the point where the banks are too big to bail. Not just too big to fail. Sovereign nations don't have enough funds to cover the ridiculousness that is going on. See, because there are, we want to call them white hats. Just understand, the deep state is taking over from the deep state. Let's tell another story. So there was this time, and I met these guys in person, some of them anyway, where multiple gangs were fighting for the right to sell drugs on our southern border, or through our southern border, because there is a huge demand. And right now what they're selling is fentanyl. And what have I been going, 8 minutes? Somebody's already died from an overdose of fentanyl. I don't understand that drug at all, because when I was in jail for 143 days, you have no idea how much puke I cleaned up from guys that just were having horrible withdrawals, curled up in a ball, couldn't eat, but could puke for days. And then finally, after like a week, some of them were able to, choke down some food, bread and peanut butter, water and so forth. But yeah, they were there. That drug is horrifying. Anyhow, and there were a couple of drug dealers in there that were telling me, yeah, they used to sell heroin. Heroin was not as bad as fentanyl. They also used to tell me that things were okay. There's a war going on that they don't talk about on our southern border. And for a little while there, you were hearing news about, all these drug busts, and they're getting all these busting all these guys that were bringing, people across the border and so forth, slaves, children were the product, and what they were using these children for, turning them into digital products, turning them into adrenochrome and other things. Anyhow, dude, we've got some really sick overlords, and they need to be cast down. Simple as that. And everybody knows what to do, but nobody wants to talk about it. And I'm certainly not going to talk about it here because the video will be taken down. But the idea is you are cash to them. You are an asset. And right now, you're a frozen asset. And the way they unfreeze you is to get you dead. The faster you're dead, the more money you are worth to them. Get it through your heads. They don't love you. You are just a product. I don't care if you're rich, if you're poor. It's just a product that you are to them. And what they want to do is get rid of you so that after 7 years, because you're ignorant, you don't know how to claim the estate, you don't know how to claim the bonds, and they do. And all this whole thing about them having a bank, yeah, that's the banking crisis for us. They're fine. They still own everything. Most of what did George Carlin tell you? All the important land, all that other stuff, that they own that. So right now, and what do? They use Babylonian money magic, paper, in order to get all of those assets. And right now, the very last thing that, I can't remember who said the quote, but the last action or the last act of any government is to raid the treasury. So what do? They send $100 billion to their minions over there in this place called Ukraine. Go look at, is Ukraine a sovereign nation with well-defined borders, or was it a territory of Russia? You tell me. Go look at just go do some research. Yeah, everything you hear from the mainstream media, to include Fox News, FAUXNOOZ News, is a fabrication for the most part. There's a great interview, and if I can't find the whole thing. I can only find one short little snippet. But there's a great interview with Tucker Carlson. Yep, happy Patrick's Day. Where he basically admits that he was pretty much under a spell and was embarrassed for some of the things he said and did. Anyhow, the idea that the banks are going to get out of this, it's not going to happen. So get silver, get silver, get silver. Again, on Monday, I believe some of the silver retailers did their biggest day ever in 40 years of business. So if you can get through, get an order of silver in. As much as a couple of few $1,000s. It's going to go up 30, 40 times. You're looking at 5, 10. I'm going to say probably silver is going to go, here's my crazy wild ass guess, at least 2,000. 600 will be a stop. And Cliff High, he's been predicting 600 forever. And it looks like it's finally going to come to fruition this year. And if not this year, next year for damn sure. But more than likely this year. Everything goes slow until it starts going fast. We have so many issues with our financial system. And remember, our financial system was designed to fail. It was not designed to last. They papered it over and propped it up much longer than it was designed to handle. And now all the cracks are showing. And see, the white hats, and see, I keep interrupting myself, they were having a long time ago, they were having a war on the southern border where one side was busting the other side. But it was just one drug cartel taking over the other drug cartel and busting the other drug cartel using American forces. That was the story I wanted to tell. Because it's the same thing now. There's this guy named Donnie, and Donnie is just one part of the deep state taking over the other part of the deep state. There are plenty of people that have figured out that the swamp isn't going to get drained because Trump is the swamp, is part of the swamp. He's going to get rid of... Now, make no mistake, enemy of my enemy. He is absolutely enemy of my enemy. He is not your friend, but he is definitely enemy of your enemy. And you'll see him. He'll be busting child traffickers. He'll be coming up with sane solutions with regard to our situation with Russia, where they're trying to get us to. They're literally these insane people trying to get us into a war with Russia, because they think that they got their deep underground bases and they're gonna somehow survive a nuclear war. Now, I have it, and I won't say it's inside information, but because of the business that I'm in with tutoring, I run into some interesting people, let's put it this way. And without sounding too crazy, and now it's not crazy talk anymore because people are talking about aliens. And by the way, these aliens don't come from up there; they come from down there, in the ocean and underground. Um, and they've given us, some of them have done everything they can to try to give us technology. And see, once we get through this years of tribulation, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of tribulation, we come out the other side smelling like roses. I've been saying this forever. Also been predicting the fact that the money is going to be no good one day. And the way the money is no good, and see, this is the thing. Inside the banking cartel, there are quote unquote white hats. Hi. Come back and watch it on 2 times speed when you get a chance. The idea being that they, because I'm going to go for a little while, we're only 15 minutes in, and then I'm going to put a few things in that that may be of interest to you when it comes to your birth certificate and stuff. But many people watch these videos, even though it doesn't look like it on the hit count and so forth. But I've come to find out that, and many of them are law enforcement and court and so forth. So it'd be foolish of me to outline my plans here because that would be foolish. Anyhow, the point being is that I don't know for sure, but I've been told that most of our nuclear arsenal on both sides, all nuclear weapons, it's just a threat because when you detonate, well, we don't detonate, when they detonate nuclear weapons, it causes a disturbance in the force. It sends out a scalar wave that screws up a lot of things in other dimensions or other densities. And so back in 1940s, 1945, when we first dropped these things and then started dropping a whole lot more of them, and really, Operation Fishbowl, they were trying to poke a hole. Go do your research. Why did they name it that? And why were they doing all these quote-unquote atmospheric tests? So they're blowing things up way up in the sky, and supposedly because of the radiation, because their silly idea is dilute. But anyhow, these others, whether you believe they come from the sky or in the ocean or in the ground or underground cities that are huge, and that the story you've been told about this molten core and spinning ball may or may not be true. I am of the opinion that this thing is a whole lot bigger than they've told us, and we just sit on this little farm surrounded by oceans and ice that it seems big to us, but it's not. And in the past, there were others here that were huge compared to us. We're like little ants compared to some of the other creatures that were here. And the idea that some of these things that we think are mountains turn out to be tree stumps. And some of these things that we think are mountains turn out to be colossal animals that have petrified. And I'll hopefully put some links down there. The Mud Fossil guy has some interesting stuff. And the Tartarians are starting to figure out. I mean, the bottom line is we figured out, we've been lied to about every fucking thing. Everything. Your history, your money, how money works. The average person doesn't understand why it's going to be, right now, I think we have like $50 billion in actual face amount of pieces of paper. Oh, and I didn't bring, oh well, and I'm not gonna, because I'll have to disappear and come back, and I don't feel like it. But go read your $100 bill. And I actually got a $100 bill out of the bank so I could play show and tell with you guys. But just go read your $100 bill, or go do some research. What's on the $100 bill? What does it say? They're putting it in your face. When it gets to the point where the government is, when the government gets to the point where they're deplorable, it's on us to change the government. It's going to be on us to not accept the digital currency that they're going to try and enslave us with. They've already enslaved us with this paper currency, but they're really going to enslave us with this other digital currency and using the blockchain to make it so. If they don't want you to, and you've heard it all before, but if they don't want you to travel, you won't be able to travel. They don't want you buying gas, you won't be able to buy gas. They don't want you buying guns, you can't buy guns. Your money won't work if you're so far away from your house or so far away from your 15-minute city. and wake up. Try to wake up your friends to the fact that the whole thing with regard to locking down because carbon and climate change, you can't see them. Well, you can almost see it a little bit. It's so bright. I don't know why it's so bright. All you can see. But anyway, these plants, they need carbon. We have an agreement with them. It's a sacred agreement that goes back many moons. We breathe out carbon, or we make carbon, and they turn it into oxygen. And you'll see greenhouses are full of carbon creation devices, because the more carbon, the better the plants grow. Oh, and then here's the other thing. Find out about electrical gardening, where they basically are taking copper, putting it on sticks, and this also has to do with pyramids. I'll try to put some links, but you want to get crazy amounts of produce out of your garden, copper pipes, or a stick with copper around it, grounded into the ground, and you and you will find that your garden grows tremendously. And I've seen people are now showing the results, because our consciousness is rising. We're starting to figure out a lot of the things that they've hidden from us for years, and figured out that yeah, we used to have free energy. We used to have a society that was completely different than what it is now, and we let them take it away from us. And now it's time to rediscover it. But we're not going to have everybody get there, because many of them committed suicide, basically. They didn't know they were committing suicide. They were scared into committing suicide because they thought that committing suicide would make it so that they somehow lived longer. But I'm out of teeth and fingers and toes, and it's going to start being hairs on your head for how many people you know that died because of climate change. Died suddenly. They were fine, and then they weren't fine. This is the scary ones. No, didn't get cancer, didn't get blood clots. They were just fine, and then they were dead. I know a couple of those now. Personally, not like over the internet or through friends. I mean, no degree of separation. These are people that I knew their fucking dog, I knew their wife, I know their children, and they're not here anymore. They were getting rid of you because, like I said, on ice, we are an asset to them, but we are a frozen asset while we're alive. The asset unfreezes after we die. So learn how to claim your state. And again, we're close enough. So if you look at your birth certificate, you will see that the all caps name was created at there's going to be on there a date. In my case, this living person here, the living man, and by the way, them serving process on the living man in court, naughty, and also them, am I going to go there? Yeah, I might as well go there. But they can't serve commercial process on the living man. Well, they can, but they're not supposed to. And they do all the time, because they consider you to be the all caps name. In my case, they have it a title case name, and then also known as the all caps name. And that all caps name was birthed with an E, with the E, not B-I, but B-E, was birthed on March 13th. The living man, on the other hand, was birthed, as in born, on March 7th. I have one son whose birthday is in September, but his birthday, and you can't hear the difference, was July 11th of the next year, due to some arguments we were having about selling my fucking children into slavery. Because I understood the birth certificate concept way back then, 17, 18 years ago, 20 years ago. Back in the 90s, I figured some of this stuff out when I was fighting with the IRS. And again, make the IRS your friend. Treasury Inspector General should be auditing all your accounts for you. But anyway, look on your birth certificate, and you will see the all caps name, and that's the date that that document was registered. Then there was a date you were born. So you need to let some people know that like I said, paperwork to be done, that they need to correct their records, because the all caps name was born on this day, and the living man was born on that day. They're not the same person. You are not that person. You represent that person, but you can't be the same person, because one was born before the other. You, right? You came first. You are the original. Okay. Oh, another thing I found out. They do it the old-fashioned way, like the Vikings and the others, where your heritage or your ancestry is traced through the mother, not the father. I thought it was through the father. So going back that side, I got Moors and all kind of stuff going back, Cherokees, and like I said, this much of me is probably Cherokee, maybe less than that. But anyway, the idea is that going through my dad's side, they're originals. They were here on the continent before the colonizers showed up. On my mom's side, those were immigrants. They came from Lithuania and Germany and Denmark and all kind of places, Euromutts that came to the Americas. But that's the side they look, because you know who your mother is. You don't always know who your father is, because in their crazy system, you might, if you're a bastard son, you might be related to the Lord of the Manor. You don't know, but you for sure know who your mother is. So if your mother wasn't the Lord's wife, then you have no claim to that estate. So the idea being is that it's your mother that makes you. But if you were born on the North American continent, that makes you a Native American. That doesn't make you an Indian, or what they say, or that doesn't make you First People, but that does make you a Native. And if, in my case, my mother was born on the North American continent, her mother was born on the North American continent, and her mother was born on the North American continent. So I am fourth generation on that side for sure, depending on, and you can go different ways, but like I said, you have to go through the mother. So if you go back mother to mother, mother, and then also that has the sacred thing to do with your umbilical cord and so forth, being attached, going back. You're attached directly to that woman, right? Whether you're a man or a woman. You are not attached to the umbilical cord to your father, but you were attached to your mother. Anyhow, the point being is that you are, your genealogy is to them through your mother. So you can claim to be a Native American because you were born on the North American continent. Like I said, and I'm fourth generation. So trying to say that, I'm not an African American. I'm an American American. I'm certainly not a Lithuanian American, but I have Lithuanians in my ancestry through my grandfather's side. So the idea, though, is that that birth certificate is only part of the thing. That's the nexus. That's what they use. And then in that birth certificate and your Social Security card, I've talked about the warehouse receipt already. Basically, that's a warehouse receipt. For you, it was the afterbirth that they named. And this is true. It was born alive. And you can go see, oh shoot, somebody, Pookie, type the name of that guy. No jellyfish. What the heck is the guy's name? I can't remember it at the moment. But if I wasn't making a video, I would. I can see his face and I can hear his voice. But he basically figured out that, yeah, it's not a joke. They name that afterbirth. Yeah, Curtis Kallenbach, thank you very much. Goodness gracious. I don't know why. See, like I said, I got to do some memory things because once in a while it just skips out on me. But you look at Kallenbach's work, he is absolutely clear that that thing names that thing, which was born alive, but which is now a dead thing. So that estate is a dead thing. That's why I sent a letter to the IRS letting them know, hey, I'm not antecedent, I'm alive. Now you need to send a letter to the FTC. Oh, that's another thing I have to say. Yeah, apparently Curtis is on Facebook also, if you're reading the notes. But the idea being is that the dead thing, that warehouse receipt, is a dead thing. That's a frozen asset until such time as they can get a death certificate to go along with your birth certificate, and then they can claim your estate because you're too ignorant to claim it. Hey, yes. Yeah, what I've been wanting to do, just answering in the thing, me and Rice keep missing each other. And once I get this whole thing handled with the courts, because it's still an ongoing extravaganza where they're doing their best to attorn me, then I will get in touch and we'll have some conversations. Because he's had a couple guys on that are just straight up liars. Like, oh, there's no Setteke trust. They don't understand the public charitable trust system, and the fact that, yes, for fuck sure, there is a trust, and you have a minor estate that you need to claim, and that birth certificate, as I was talking about, is part of it. They set up this thing because this is the okay. I went to school with some very rich people. My mother was a school teacher, and she busted her ass to make the payments for that private school. And I got an education that was a little better than public, but at the same time, still lies, still almost all lies. Anyhow, but what they do is they'll set aside $10,000 for the child when it's born, and then when it gets older, there's no need to, because of compound interest and so on, there's no need for them to touch the estate of the family because they have their own money. In fact, I know a couple of people, and we won't name any names, where one of the daughters just went crazy and bought cars and so forth because she got past the, there's a name for that, spendthrift clause. Because, you know, when you're in your 20s, so they figured she'd be old enough to handle the money, right? The way the trust was set up. No. So anyway, she bought cars and houses and had men rip her off and all kind of, I just feel bad for her. Anyway, ran out of money. And the family's like, oh well. Because it was a substantial amount of money. You know how much it cost to buy a house or two or three on this island? Anyhow, the point being is that the government does the same thing for you, but they don't tell you about it. And, you know, sometimes think about all the money from your parents you never claimed. And think about their parents. And think about going back generations. This started happening back in 1871 when they set this whole thing up. And then back in 1929 when there was the other financial crash that they did the same thing. Right now, I interrupted myself again, there's about $50 billion of face amount in actual currency, in actual bills, in actual pieces of paper that we could trade with each other. There's like 350 million of us. So let's see here. Multiply by 10, that's 3.5 billion. Then multiply by 20, and now we're at 7 billion. Multiply, all right, so that's a few $100s for every person. Think about it, right? $50 billion in face amount. There's not enough money to go around because there are lots of people, and you've seen them, with, you know, shopping bags full of $100 bills. You know, wall safes, or, you know, safes that have lots and lots. Okay, so that money is not in circulation. There's not enough money for the peasants to trade. And that's the same thing that happened in 1929. There wasn't enough currency to go around. And this crashed the markets because people could not transact. And we're getting to the point where people will not be able to transact because they're going to put so many digits into the system. What they did with SVIB. And take a look. I don't know if you've seen them, but there's plenty of fun stuff going around about that where Bart Simpson basically, and I'm not sure if that's for real or not, but the Simpsons seem to have some inside information on about what's going to happen. And this was quite a while ago. But yeah. Among other things. But like I said, they put money aside for us in these trusts, but then they don't tell us how to claim them. So birth certificate, social security card, back of social security card, they all have numbers, and your social security card is your transit number. Oh, also, I keep forgetting to do it, but make sure you ask the court for their EIN number. Since they're treating you as a dependent employee or officer, you might want to find out which it is, but that's basically what they're doing to you. And then they're returning you, trying to get as much money out of you as possible for whatever it is. Because all crimes, whether it's murder, a traffic violation, whatever they consider to be a crime, is commercial, because it's all commerce. And then try to remember the other concept, there is no money. Go take a look at Yusuf L. Go take a look at the Bad Wolf. And then use discernment, because there's a couple people on the internets that claim to be on this side, and clearly they are not on this side. And they say the same thing about me, because if you're still on YouTube, then right. And this is the other thing. If you go back and look at some of my videos, I have made mistakes. Like I didn't know that they went through the mother. I thought they went through the father. Nope, it's the mother side. We are a paternal society, but your lineage comes down to your mom, because you know who your mom was, no matter what. Anyhow, so that was an error. and I'm sure there are a couple of hundred other errors in my stuff. So they leave it up because if you're using that stuff as gospel and governing yourself according to that, you're going to make mistakes. And once you make a mistake, they can trap you and turn you and take and extract money from you. Oh, here's another thing with your. Oh, I'm going to have to make a different video because I don't have the forms in front of me. But there's a way to get the. Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Oh, CPA is the worst. Child protective. Oh my God. They're basically slavers. State-run slaving. In Arizona, for example, thousands of kids are just missing on Maui. 50 kids missing on Big Island. 100 kids missing. Just missing. Just, well, we don't know what happened to them. They're missing. And we apparently, as one guy was saying, they came for your kids and still it wasn't enough. And by the way, kids means a child suitable for sacrifice. See, because we use Webster's and they use Black's Law. See, that comes back to the Hermetic principles. First thing, it's all mentalism. This whole thing is mentalism. It's your mind that makes everything work. Then the next principle is correspondence. The words, the sounds that I'm making at you correspond to certain thoughts or definitions in your mind. Well, if we're using Webster's and you're using Black's Law, take a look at the difference in there. Can you see the problem? do you see the problem there? So what you got to do is understand that they're using Black's Law. So they are attorneying you. That is not a law sayer. That is not your friend. What did they say inside? They used to call them the public pretenders, right? Because they pretend that they're on your side, but what I mean, the criminals know that what's going on there. Oh, and one other story, going way back to the part where I was talking about the guys on the border. Some of these guys are just young kids that need the money. I bawled this one kid out because he was like 21 or so, already in jail, gonna be in jail forever. How did he get busted? He was driving a U-Haul in the middle of the desert. What was in the back of the U-Haul? Women and children. Those women were scheduled, and the children were set to become slaves. And I was like, you didn't really? And you know how much he got? He got $1,200, right? And he's a young, good-looking guy. He had a driver's license, is what they needed, and so he could rent the van. And they paid for the van and everything, and they gave him $1,200. It was going to be $1,000, but he held out for $1,200 because he's a good negotiator. And he was going to, I mean, you know, he was going to deliver those people from. He goes, I don't know. The idea was I'd pick them up here and I'd deliver them there, no questions asked. I'm like, but you know what was going to happen to those people, right? So this is the problem. They have no conscience, and they don't think. And after I made him think about it, he felt bad. I could tell, genuinely. But right, you know, he was just doing what he was told. And see, because in those gangs, they're well organized people. They have runners. They have soldiers. He was a runner. He was considered a runner, and he was going to work his way up to soldier. And then he was going to work his way up to, you know, sergeant or capo or whatever it is. I don't remember. I wrote some of it down because, like I said, they have a definite structure. They have cooks. They have. I mean, anyway, the Rastas got their shit together. Let's put it this way, because they're organized and they understand division of labor, right? Anyhow, the idea being is that a lot of what's going on right now, the people are unwitting on both sides, whether they're quote-unquote law enforcement officers that are completely ignorant of the birth certificate thing and the fact that they're helping these people enslave children. And it's not, you know, not just poor Mexicans. It's you white folk and you black folk. It doesn't matter. Think you're an American citizen? Oh, let's talk about that. You're not an American citizen. You're a U.S. citizen. And there's a big difference between United States of America and United States. One is a corporation and one is a republic. The corporation masquerades as that government that you thought. Same thing, the courts. The courts, even on this island, they don't own those buildings. They're not judicial courts of law. They're not Article 3 courts. They're Article 1 courts. They're administrative agencies. And those administrative agencies have board members. It's a private membership association that rents out the buildings that you think are public buildings. They are, but they're rented. Those courtrooms are rented, and that's a courtroom. The court is actually your paperwork. Getting educated in all of this takes time, because one of the things that you have to do is start to understand that everything that you thought, and especially all the programming that you've been given on TV with Perry Mason going back to in the day, right, and Law and Order and all this other stuff, when you watch the stuff that happens in court on TV, is exactly not what's happening in court when you go to court here in reality, if you want to call it that. So the idea being is that it takes a while for you to unlearn or unbelieve what you've been taught and start figuring out how to take this information and use it to your advantage. Or at least stop the pirates, which is, go check out Stop the Pirates. That guy's got some good information there too. Because they're pirates and they don't care. They truly don't care. Trump doesn't care either. Once again, yes, absolutely. Yeah, I know. It blows my mind that this for $1,200 he would do these things, and see, and this is the other thing. You know, your police officers, what are they working for? $90,000 a year, and they get shot at. And they don't understand what they're doing. They truly don't. Many of them don't. Many of them do, though. And those are the ones that piss me off. They don't know and they don't care. Or that, they after 10 or a few years, they go through and they figure out. But what are they going to do, right? I know some guys will actually quit. Other guys just, oh well, they still get their paycheck, and it's what they know how to do. So that's what they do. Most of your prosecutors are going to go at 90%, 99%. They understand about CUSIP numbers. They understand about the trust. They understand because they're writing the bid bonds on you, the payment bonds and the performance bonds and the bonds that they write on your case. And they're rating your account. They're taking it out of your account. You're considered, what they're doing is, yep, absolutely. We are on Waterworld. That's the movies when they try to give you notice. Because it is. Get on the land. You got to that's the one thing. We have land. America, United States, America, Republic. Okay, before I get off on too much of a tangent, I'm going to cut this short because I'm just rambling. But many people assume that bad things happen when I don't, and bad things have happened when I don't make a video for a long time. Assume the worst. At this point, before I thought that was silly, but now I know not, because they don't care. They don't care. No warrant, they don't care. No indictment, they don't care. Anyhow, you might, oh shoot, I'm gonna have to make another video. But there is a certain agency, and I have the paperwork, and but you can send in a Freedom of Information Act request, and I got this from Felicia Beverly from the Golden Eagle, where you send in a Freedom of Information Act request and ask them for facts or evidence or any proof that all caps name is a United States citizen. Not a United States of America citizen, just a United States citizen. And guess what? You'll get a piece of paper back. Or I didn't get a piece of paper back. I got a PDF back that they sent that I could download off the website that says, yeah, we don't have any information. Your request came back null because they don't have any facts or evidence or any proof that all caps name is a United States citizen. Well, that's the assumption that the court is under, is that the all caps name is a United States citizen. Otherwise, they don't have jurisdiction. And they're trying to say, oh yeah, we've got jurisdiction and that whole thing, this is all nonsense. And you guys, you sovereign citizens. I've never claimed to be a sovereign citizen. I might be born in a sovereign state known as Illinois, but which makes me an Illinoisan. And see, you have two citizenships when you break it down. United States citizenship that you had you had to apply for that citizenship, and the United States of America where you were born on the land, right? You weren't born in the water. And see, what we did is we gave them authority to come up on the land. And see, Yusuf El gets very annoyed with us because we're so fucking ignorant. This is the thing. They want you ignorant. They want you watching the Oscars. And hardly anybody watched the Oscars. They want you watching TV. They want you watching their satanic rituals, which has now become completely blatant. They're no longer, they used to be kind of, you had, what does that symbol mean? Oh, what does that color mean? There is a certain color, too, want you to be aware of. And I don't see any around here, but it's a light blue. It's the Lucifer blue. You'll see people that are lying to you on TV. They'll be wearing the that color. And it seems to be popular among the ignorant because it is. It's a pleasing-looking color, but it's when the powers that be are wearing them, or when the talking heads are wearing them, that's them letting you know what team they're on. And once again, where is that entity? And I have a friend that's, oh, it's just consciousness. Well, I'm just consciousness, and so are you. But that consciousness has, in fact, incarnated into a individual and is in Geneva. And that is the Satan, the Lucifer. He's here, clearly. And is a genius far beyond our ability to comprehend, and has set up a system of enslavement where taking as many souls as possible before things happen. Because if you look at Jason of Archaics, he talks about 2040. There are many people talking about 2046. I was talking about 2046. 2046, there is the reset of the actual firmament, the planet that we're on. There's going to be big changes. And that's only 23 years away. That's not that far away. And which is why they have their underground cities and underground things. And see, now I'm seeing a couple of truckers and a couple of other people have surreptitiously, and I'm not going to post those because those guys, they have no idea how much trouble they've gotten themselves into. Yeah, 2030 is financial, not planetary. But the idea is, and societal and so forth. But the actual reset, when the planet does its, and when I say planet, I mean plane. It shifts 90 degrees, and then so the waters and everything sloshes back and forth and makes a hell of a mess that we don't. We have a hell of a time coming back from. Anyhow, and it's a reset. And those who are, and again, I don't know why people are so upset, because you come obviously from stock that survived, or we wouldn't be talking. Yes, I watch quite a bit of Archaics, actually. And I agree with a lot of what that guy has to say, and there's some of the stuff that I don't agree with, of course. And nobody, that's what makes the world a lovely place, is because Allah loves wondrous diversity. But a lot of what he says jives with what I've been saying. And like I said, if you go back and look at some ancient videos that I did a couple of years ago, yeah. All of them, they serve a different master. But like I said, enemy of my enemy is still my enemy. But at least he's enemy of my enemy. So we support the enemy of my enemy. And there is no question that in my lifetime, I've got 59 years under my belt. That was the there you go. There's going to be or he was by far the most. We'll just say he was the best president, right? I mean, as far as slave masters go, he was a good slave master. Because again, the Wigmores. And believe it or not, the Wigmores, this is the wig that they were doing, right? Before I had this, it was at least semi-decent with dreads. Now it's just a freaking mess. It needs to get shaved off and start over again. But the idea is that they wore the wigs because of the Moors. They were Wigmore, the Wigmore party. Okay. Two kinds of Wigmores, because by all means, Africans owned slaves. By all means, the slaves, color is not got anything to do with it. There were Irish slaves. It's St. Patrick's Day. Go look at it. Yeah, there you go. That's where we're at. The countdown's on. But they had fair-skinned slaves. They have dark-skinned slaves. Asians have. There's more people in slavery on this planet than ever before, and they want us to all think we're free. But the idea is that of the Wigmores, there were the cotton Whigs, who we call Democrats now, who absolutely owned slaves. They were into slaves. They didn't have, no bones about it. And they wanted to own slaves, and the slaves were their property right, and that was their God-given right to own slaves. And read the freaking Bible. It talks about slaves and how to handle your slaves and how to treat your slaves, and slaves are a thing. And I've been to places in the Pacific, Micronesia, where I talk to people that were slaves, and they find the American idea of being so anti-slavery ridiculous because she was the queen's magic and medicine woman, and she had a house, and her children were taken care of, and food, and blah blah, and yeah, she belonged to the queen, and she did whatever the fuck the queen told her to, and as you know, you go to a job and do whatever the fuck your boss tells you to do, right? And your boss doesn't give a fuck about you and doesn't take care of you. Meanwhile, her queen made sure that she was taken care of and her children are taken care of and educated and blah, blah, blah. Anyway, it's just a difference of mindset. Um, I had a problem with her being a slave, but she didn't have a problem with her being a slave. And they don't talk about it much, right? Because, anyway, but there's still slavery going on. Anyhow, the cotton wigs, they own slaves. And their idea is, put them on ice and get rid of them and, set up their accounts and so forth. And then, their trust, their Sesticate trust, don't tell them about the Sesticate trust, and then take the Sesticate trust. So you get a lifetime of labor out of them, and then you get all the money you put in their name for them. And if they're too ignorant to figure out the system, too fucking bad. Okay, then there's the other ones, the conscious wigs. We call them Republicans. And those are the ones that are going to be taking over. Oh, and by the way, these guys, absolute Satan worshippers, right? Fucking blood drinking, blood sucking, skirgling, mullet. I mean, they're Phoenicians from way back. Ancient slavers. You got to take a look. Also, if you look at some of the Roman canon and some of the Roman law, and then look at some of the codified United States code, and some of the stuff when it applies to justices and courts and so forth, it's freaking pretty much verbatim. Anyway, so the conscious wigs, these Republicans, they are more of, treat the slaves good, make the slaves prosperous. The more prosperous the slaves are, the more prosperous we are, because we get more licenses, we get more fees, we get, take a little bit. Don't enslave them and don't put them in chains. Own the company called Visa or MasterCard, and you get 3% of every transaction, or 3.5 or 2.5, or even if you only just get a nickel. I mean, a couple of million nickels adds up. A couple of 100 million nickels adds up day after day, year after year, every single transaction and so forth. So make them prosperous. All right, that's the Trumpy Trump side. They're not our friends. They just want to make sure that right, they can suck the juice, right? They can be leeches, they can be parasites without killing the host. And to the point where you don't notice, right? They're kind of like fleas. But now here's the thing. You got too many fleas, it eventually kills. All right, so we're at the point where the fleas are out of control, right? I mean, they are pesky. There is nothing you can do. You get taxed on your tax in this state. This is the only state. See, and I was trying to make a video without that. For whatever reason, have you noticed the roosters are quiet for a change, and we don't have a chorus of dogs barking at each other. So, and that's the other thing. There's been a couple times when I was trying to make videos, and it was just crazy around here. Anyhow, the point being is that the Wigmores. What? Wait a second. Oops, I can't. You're distracting me. I haven't figured out how to make those things snap. The chat comes and then it goes. But anyway, the idea is that the one side, like the gangs on the southern border, where they were doing busts and they were busting the other guys, and there were huge drug busts, and they were busting the traffickers, and they were doing all this other stuff, so that the other gang could take over, and they were basically using American muscle to take out the other gang. Oh, and that was the other thing. I can tell you there's a war going on because, and I don't want to get too much in trouble because these guys they're even more vindictive. But yeah, that's where they actually came from. They actually build stuff. But the Masons, they held Egyptian knowledge. They held ancient knowledge that went way back to this time when energy was free, and we were flying around doing all kinds of crazy stuff that right now seems like magic to us. But it's coming. It's going to come back. Much of that technology, crazy, what we would consider crazy technology, is going to be rediscovered, uh, and and we will prosper. Your children will not know this planet the way we knew it, but there's going to be one hell of a lot of pain first, and a lot of suffering and death before that happens. Anyhow, you guys keep interrupting me. The idea being is that the Wigmore, the conscious wigs, are going to get rid of the cotton wigs, and they're going to pretty much destroy them, as you can see, when it comes to Biden and so forth. Um, yeah, this is the thing too. Take a good look. The Boule, those black Masons, mostly they play the fool and tell jokes and act and sing and dance, but they are definitely the government is not the first layer of defense for our overlords. Hollywood and media is. Anyhow, so what they're doing is one side's taken over and one side's busting. Yeah, huge amount of human traffic busts under Trump. Huge amount of disclosure, controlled disclosure, but still disclosure. And that is going to be accelerated over the next little while as people wake up to the fraud that is our Babylonian money magic system with paper that is of no good. We're probably going to go back, if enough of you wake up your friends to the fact that you don't want the CBDCs, you do not want this digital currency. Listen to people like Catherine Austin Fitts and oh man, any of the guys that talk about gold and silver that are like on SGT or on Gerald Salenti, Gregory Mannarino, all these guys, they'll all tell you this is going to be the ultimate system of enslavement if you let them put this system of enslavement on you. And don't think we're powerless, because I remember when they were talking about, in fact, this is how I got into all the trouble in the first place in this state, mandatory face diapers, and you needed a passport that showed that you did that, and it's gone. Yeah, Roto-Rooter, absolutely Bix Weir. Bix is horrifying with his predictions. He was thinking Theta was going to be at 300 by now. Yeah, Theta's at $1 right now. He's calling for $5,000 or $10,000 silver. It could be. It absolutely could happen. It's certainly going to be a whole lot more than 20, and it's going to happen a whole lot sooner than you think. But the idea being is that, yeah. Anyhow, the idea is that, like I said, you guys are distracting me. The idea is that we're going to have sound money if we want it, because we're not in camps. Notice, you know why we're not in camps? This is why we're not in camps. We're not having passports to do whatever to walk into a restaurant or to go to a sporting event. Oh, and this is the thing. See, they've gotten so bold now that, thanks. they've gotten, they've gotten so bold now that there's Satan Fest in Massachusetts. Now, the thing that's cool about Satan Fest, and I knew some people that wanted to go, but they can't go. You know why they can't go? Is because, not because they're Satanists, but because they want to see what these fucking guys are up to, right? You can go to any Catholic church or any other church and see, some of the revivals that are going on. And whether you're a Christian or not, you can go and observe. But you can't go observe Satan Fest because in order to go to Satan Fest, you have to do that. Yeah, it's, 1913, 33. And we're actually probably less than that at this point, not 0.3, 0.03. Like we're down to, for every dollar, not even 3 cents. I mean, it's crazy how badly it's been. We were talking about this. Think about, okay, so a copper penny, 1 dime is 10 copper pennies. 1 copper penny used to be able to get you a cup of coffee, and not a little cup of coffee, a nice regular old cup of coffee. Now a cup of coffee is $3-4. So think about that when it comes to repricing things, because a silver dime is going to be a crap ton of money. There was a time not too long ago when a silver dime was a day's labor. You got paid a dime for laboring for 8 hours, or maybe 10 hours, a penny an hour. That was a thing for a long time. Now you can make, a lot of people make $25 an hour, and $25 an hour pretty much will buy an ounce of silver. Although actually that's not true. I think the last I was looking was silver ounces were 27.61 the last time I looked, which was within the last 48 hours. That you could actually buy off of, I think that was either JM Bullion or American Precious Metals Exchange. But get yourself some silver in small denominations, dimes. And I see now that all these places that used to have dimes in abundance, now it's alert me, alert me, alert me. I still see them on eBay. But right now, don't be dicking around for $10 or $15. Get yourself some silver. If you have to pay $114 or $15 a roll, and I know they were just 86 or 90 not too long ago, too bad. You waited. You should have gotten them then, but don't make that an excuse. You're waiting for it to come back down. It might come back down, but then again, it might not come back down, and it might take off. And either way, going out, just looking out 2-3 years from now, that silver is going to be worth a whole lot more than $20 an ounce, or 22, 23 bucks an ounce, whatever they have it rigged at the moment. Another thing I would look at too, yeah, 100%, and silver more than gold. Silver first and then gold. Nothing wrong with gold. Nothing wrong with gold, but get you some silver, because it just, look, if you're watching Bix Weir and Road to Ruta, I don't need to repeat it here. He talks about all the reasons why silver is the better deal. Not to mention the fact that the silver or gold to silver ratio, what is it? You can get 90 pieces of silver or 90 ounces of silver for 1 ounce of gold. That's insane. It should be more like 16, 10 to 16, and I'm in agreement with Bix where I think it's going to go 1 to 1, and it might actually go the other way, because it turns out there's less silver above ground than there is gold. The more I've been doing research, the more I've been talking, like I said, look at Terry Carter's channel here on YouTube. Yeah, it's great. It's a treasure hunting channel. He talks about giants. He talks about out-of-place artifacts. He talks about these people. And see, he actually interviews people that normally wouldn't have a voice, that have been in the Southwest and have seen some things. And the idea that there is a lot of gold in the Philippines, a lot of gold in the Southwest, like tremendous amounts of gold in the Southwest, secreted away. The government has also secreted away. Patrick Devine was talking about how going back to, yeah, it's absolutely crazy. It should not be that high. So get silver while you can get silver. And then later on, when the ratio goes back, there's this thing in mathematics called revision to mean. It's an immutable law. They have tried as hard as they can to change basic laws of mathematics and physics, right? The math when it comes to the money supply and the math when it comes to the banks, it's just mathematically impossible for the system to continue for very much longer. There's no way. And then it's mathematically impossible that the money isn't going to hyperinflate. So we thought it was going to be deflation, because what do we have? Now, seeing again, I can't remember that guy's name. And he's here on Maui. He's a billionaire that's on Maui. Or, well, he's not on Maui now. He's kind of blown up. He's traveling all over the place. He wrote a book. But the idea is that and if you go on my website, you'll actually see I put video up of him talking, because, and his name just escapes me at the moment. I can see, that's another one, I can see his face. But he basically is talking about 7,500 people a day and more being either dead or disabled due to climate change, and taking naps and digging in the garden and stuff. Fucking the most insane things that they talk about. And the idea also that now all the things that you have problems for, they got a solution. Come back to the pharmaceuticals. Pharma's in big trouble. They're in big trouble, because word is out on them, and that's why you see so much distraction. This is why you see all these train derailments. This is why you see, oh, be afraid about war. They want you, chase this ball over here. Oh, look at this right over the shiny thing. They don't want you understanding that people are stone cold busted, and nobody's in there for reconciliation, right? Nobody's in there saying, "Aw, no, these people are going to pay for what they've done," um, and they don't want to pay for what they've done. Of course not. So what they're trying to do is distract you with all kind of fun news and scare you with other stuff. They figured, well, we scared them with the common cold. We can scare them with other stuff that's even more scary, and it comes across the news wires and so forth. Thermonuclear holocaust. That's pretty scary. Um, and aliens. Don't forget the aliens. There's going to be aliens. Um, the idea, though, is that they're stone cold busted, and they're pulling out all the stops, trying to get you to not have them busted. Just like the current whatever that is that's in the White House, and that's not even in the White House. That's in what they're pretending to be the White House. That guy, and it apparently it's. Have you seen the deep fakes? And have you seen? I think these masks cost like $5,000-7,000, and you have to look here very carefully because it's a mask, and it's just like in the movies where they peel, or Scooby Doo when they peel off the mask. And there was one that was great because looked like a black woman to me, and and because okay, one does not tarnish. In many cultures, it wasn't used as currency. In many cultures, it was used to preserve knowledge, and they flattened it out in plates and they wrote on it because you can put the thing away, and 500 years later, you can come back, and it hasn't done anything. They found gold in the bottom of the ocean that doesn't tarnish. It doesn't change. That's why it has value. Try to do that with a piece of parchment. Try to do that with a piece of tin. Try to do that with copper. Try to do that with a lot of other things. Gold and silver, they last forever. And see, we've lost a lot of knowledge because in the Middle Americas, well, many of the cultures, like I said, the conquistadors were blown away because they were using this stuff for all kinds of different things except money. So they had plates, they had vessels, they had all kinds of stuff, they had jewelry, they had ornaments, they had all kind of fun stuff that they made with gold, but they didn't use it as a medium of exchange so much, right? Okay. Meantime, the conquistadors, they're all about gold fever. So that's one of the values. Silver, on the other hand, and it's also a pretty good conductor of electricity. And it also, if you plate stuff with it, it makes it so that it lasts much, much longer. Permanence. And see, this is the thing with us. We are not permanent here. All of everything turns to dust over time. But gold does not turn to dust. So that's one of the reasons why it's valuable. Anyhow, where was I going? I got interrupted. I don't remember. Oh, the fact that Ed Dowd is the guy's name, was talking about the fact that we were going to have, it's very deflationary for 7,500 people to go out of the workforce every single day. This is why our economy is going to shit. But at the same time, I walk around here on this island or ride the bus or whatever, and there's Hope Wanted signs everywhere. Why are there Hope Wanted signs everywhere? Because, and I actually have inquired, especially at some of the, like at the loading docks. I used to do that, stevedoring. There's some interesting work because the stevedores, nothing happens on this island without somebody getting paid. Nothing moves, I mean. Anyway, yeah, let's not go there. But the idea being is that a lot of freight forwarding places and trucking companies and so forth, they got big signs up. They need drivers. They need guys in the warehouse and so forth. And I was like, how come? Oh, because the guy quit. Oh, because the guy was disabled. Oh, because the guy died. That the idea is that we were supposed to have with that. That was how they were going to fight some of the inflation, was with deflation and like, if you're dead, you don't need a house. You don't need a car. In fact, not only do you not need a car, those goods and services, or well, those goods, not services, because you're unable to perform any services except for the last one, go back into the market. So the car needs to be sold. The house needs to transfer, to heirs if there are any. All the merchandise, there are estate sales on this island. There are estate sales going on all the time now. If you look in the paper, and like people that go to on Maui, because we have such a huge upper crust, the uh, the only other place I saw that had cool secondhand stores like Maui was when I was in LA, and they had Magnolia Street over there in North Hollywood. Crazy. I mean, shirts and clothes and stuff for, like, no money, because they were either donated by the movie lots or some of the wealthy people. On Maui, it's wealthy people. This tablet that I'm is on a washing machine that we basically got for free, because people just give away stuff, because every few years they don't keep their washing machine until it breaks. The wife says, I need a new washer and dryer, and the husband says, okay, and the other washer and dryer is perfectly good, but they want a new one. Because they don't want white anymore, they want black, or they want silver, or whatever. And I've know people like this, where the wife, I was talking to the husband, and she's like, oh, they want all new appliances. Are the old appliances bad? No, the old appliances are perfectly fine. She just wanted to change her kitchen, and the old appliances don't match the idea for the new design. So all those appliances go out, and all the new appliances go in. And so they're selling them at, you can get them cheap, and they're brand new. Good, they're not brand new, but 1 or 2 years old, or a couple of years old. Certainly, in the old days, they would be awesome, because now they build everything to break. But I know people that have know them personally, that have old refrigerators from, like, the freaking, I think they're from the 60s, that still work, right? They just chug them. They're not energy efficient, but you never have to think about them, because they just work. As opposed to, I know other people that have a new refrigerator, and it's like 4 years old, and it needs maintenance. Something goes wrong with a pump or something like that, which can be problematic if it's a big fridge full of food. Anyhow, and see, this is another thing that's going to happen here in the future, is in the very near future, is this planned obsolescence is going to go by the wayside. You're going to have products that last. You're going to have, just like your car. Because they can't have, they're trying to get rid of the internal combustion engine, and we could get rid of the internal combustion engine and have electric motors, but the electric cars that they want to give us now are shit electric cars, and they want to have electric cars the same way they're trying to get rid of natural gas and petroleum, because they can't turn off natural gas and petroleum, but they can sure as fuck turn off your electric car from a satellite from a distance. The idea also is that Saudi Arabia, see this whole thing about peak oil and stuff like that, complete bullshit, there's another lie. But off the coast of Saudi Arabia, oh, and did you notice that they're not talking about Saudi Arabia and Iran making peace? The Sunnis and the Shiites are not fighting for the first time in I don't know how many centuries. They actually brokered a peace deal. And who brokered the peace deal? Who brokered the peace deal? Was it Donald Trump? Nope, it was the Chinese. And see, the Chinese are going around doing venture capitalism, like the economic hitmen that we have, but they're doing it slightly different, where, but the Africans have figured it out, because I've seen several videos from Africans. They're not building roads into Africa and so forth for the Africans. They're building roads so that they can take resources out of the country. It's not for the benefit of the Africans. It's so that the Africans benefit because they can use those roads, but overall the Chinese want to get it so that they can get the goods and materials from Africa, or the inner countries or the interior, to the ports, because it's much cheaper to use rail and roads and trucks than it is to try and fly it in and out of there. Anyhow, but they're using their influence to broker peace deals, to do to give actual infrastructure without putting these people into huge amounts of debt, the way we did. And anyway, getting back to the fact that Saudi Arabia has just discovered a huge, like they said, 300 years. They could power Germany for 300 years with this natural gas find that they found off the peninsula of Saudi Arabia. Okay, so what are they doing here? Telling you can't have a gas stove, because they don't want the American market to. It doesn't matter anyway, because they don't want to have the market for Saudi Arabian gas be the United States. And that's part of the thing. If you understand again who's running the show, when we get rid of this, whoever he is, we'll we'll call him Joe, um, or Brandon. There you go. Let's go, Brandon. Okay, when the next guy comes in, we're going to be energy independent again. And we've got more than enough natural gas to run things. But see, again, if you've got a tank, and I used to have a house where I had I think it was a 600-gallon tank. The thing was huge. And it would cost, like, I can't remember what it was, but it would be every time the thing ran out, and it didn't run out that often. It was a pretty penny to refill the thing. But then it lasted for like another 6 months. All right. So power goes out, no problem. I got gas stove, I got gas water heater, right? Okay. They don't want that. That's how do they control you if you have that? So what they want is for you to have electricity and a smart meter, and because of climate change, they can turn your smart meter, or your smart meter can be turned on and off. Oh, and here's another fun thing that they found using routers and smart meters. Because of the technology, they know where you are in the house. They can 3D image your entire house. And because that's the other thing, they're going to do virtual reality on a scale that and it's going to be a mirror of this reality, where every house, there's a couple of companies now that are doing this, where they do 3D imaging of your house, and it's really cool. You can walk through, and here, you just get this device, and all these real estate agents are doing it, and they plan on, entire cities, the way that we have Google Maps now. You'll be able to walk into every house, every building, and it will be an accurate 3D image, because they tell you where to place the cameras around. And then there's these other things called Roombas, that they also map your house out, and they vacuum too. Convenience, convenience, convenience. But they are setting up for a whole other 3D world, and you'll be able to put your goggles on, and they're going to sell it as, why would you want to get on an airplane and actually press flesh and talk face to face when you can have a holographic experience that's exactly the same as being there, pretty much. You got to guard against all this stuff. Physical reality, this reality is also a simulation, but they're going to put a simulation on top of a simulation. Yeah, see, and then the mind boggles, because you're in a simulation. And again, first of the Hermetic principles is mentalism, and then the correspondence. And see, again, going back to the birth certificate, you correspond to that birth certificate, those numbers. And then just go over them quickly. The next thing is vibration, because everything has a vibration. The next thing is polarity, and he who masters polarity masters the planet, or masters this plane, masters this reality. Then comes rhythm, and because there's a rhythm to all of this. Then comes, it's absolutely a simulation. I didn't believe this, my mathematics, and see, it came from many people that do mathematics and physics and so forth, and it was like, wait a minute, that looks like freaking browser code. It's because it is. And this is why things are so bizarre. Where was I? I was at rhythm. So, okay, start at the top. Mentalism, correspondence, frequency and vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. Can you see where they're messing with all of these things? They're messing with the rhythm by putting the rhythm of the seasons with crazy amounts of geoengineering and chemtrailing. Hey, look, it's a FedEx truck. Enjoy those. That's going to become a thing of the past very soon. And not an Al Gore thing of the past, an actual thing of the past, because Al Gore told you the snow would be a thing of the past. And now I've seen drone from friends that are in Northern California, and they are buried in snow. 2-story house, and the snow is up to the peaks, not just the peak of the roof. There's snow up there, and then of course the snow on top of the roof, and they're having issues because that much snow weighs quite a lot, and the houses weren't designed to bear that much weight. And that's look up HARP. You know it is HAARP. And the things that they're doing. One of the things that was given as a sign that things were going well for the White Hats was water. So much of Northern California, well, actually all of California, from the north to the south, is getting snow and way too much water. But it's what was necessary to fill up those reservoirs. Anyway, I've gone on for an hour and 20. Just wanted to cover a few of those things. Once again, recap of the most important things. The all caps name has a different birth date, BER, than the BIR that you have. So you need to let the Secretary of State and the Federal Trade Commission and the IRS know that you're non-decedent and that you're not the same person and that you have a birth certificate to prove it. The FTC, Federal Trade Commission, the same thing as I just wrote, a really short, it doesn't have to be a long letter, it doesn't have to be, miles long, I'm always too wordy, but just a few sentences. Hey, I'm non-decedent, hey, this is the name, hey, correct your records, this is the birth date for this is the birth date for the living man, this is the birth date for the other, right? Go send in the Freedom of Information Act. Like I said, I gotta go get that thing because I don't remember. Department of Immigration and Naturalization or Homeland Security, I don't remember what it was, but yes. And see, you should spell it, birth date, the second one, born and birth, the second one should be BERS because they're birthing you. You literally birth. It's all maritime, as the one guy was saying. So the simple is to let them know. So let the FTC know. Federal Trade Commission needs to know. Okay. That should do it. I will talk to you guys soon. E pluribus unum, right? Crime Stoppers, you got to get better at stopping crime. And one of the best ways to stop crime is for you to let others know that the crimes are being committed. And just rat them out. Just rat them out. Let people know they tried to kill you. It's lies. It's lies. It's lies. Just expose the lies. And the way you expose lies, just tell the truth. Right? Now, here's the problem. You got to be discerning about the truth. But the idea is that, people are waking up. The fact that it's so simple that the all caps name. But see, then send in a Freedom of Information Act request again. Ask for facts or evidence or any proof that that thing is a U.S. citizen. They don't have any. Okay, that's the assumption that the courts are going under. That's the assumption that the police are going under. See, but if you live in their jurisdiction with a zip code, you're in. If you're using the two-digit or two-letter abbreviation, they own that, and you're in their jurisdiction. So you got to change your address to rural free delivery. You got to do a bunch of things in order to get out from under the whore of Babylon. Anyway, yeah, there you go. 18 USC 241 and 242, and then don't forget RICO, because you can usually get them for RICO, and don't forget. What is it called? It's especially if they use the mail. It's USC 18 USC 1001, but just look up fraudulent and fictitious conveyance of language and fraudulent conveyance of language, and then also fictitious plaintiff. Anyhow, let's call it a day. Where was I? I was saying, take it easy, Crime Stoppers. E pluribus unum. Educate yourself, educate others. And I have to apologize because, like I said, one of the reasons why my channel is still up is because there was misinformation on this channel. But I, at the time, thought it was correct, and now I've gotten more information. So use your discernment, do your research, and if you find errors in what, see, that's what I mean. Don't believe me, don't believe anybody. You got to do your own research. But if you find errors in my videos or some of the information that I give you, for damn sure, put it in the comments below, if they let you, because there's been a couple of videos I tried to comment on, hit send, and it just disappears, especially on Instagram, because we were talking about the Russian war. But anyway, put the corrections in there if there's errata, and I will talk to you later, except for once again, there you go. I'm signing off. We'll talk to you soon. Yes, I do want to stop streaming.